the 1990s, McDonald's launched a massive marketing campaign in America. This campaign was called the Monopoly Game. When you ordered a meal, you would receive a ticket, and this ticket could contain a prize. The prizes included electronics, cars, boats, and cash, ranging from $1,000 to $1 million. The biggest prize was the $1 million jackpot, which everyone wanted to win. People started buying more meals to get the prizes, and McDonald's sales skyrocketed. As a result, they repeated this marketing campaign multiple times a year. However, what would later be discovered is that, from 1989 to 2001, not a single legitimate winner received the $1 million prize. There were winners over the years, but all of them had won through fraud. The mastermind behind this massive fraud operation was a man known as Uncle Jerry. Over 12 years, Uncle Jerry managed to steal more than $25 million from the prize money. How did he do it? How did no one catch him for so many years? And what was his connection to the mafia? This is what we will uncover in this story, so stay tuned and enjoy. Peace be upon you, my name is Batter. Before we get into the story, I want to take this opportunity to remind you about the boycott. McDonald's is one of the companies that support the Zionist entity. This is the least we can do for our brothers and sisters in Gaza, who have been suffering and losing their lives for the past 7 months. May God grant them victory and ease their suffering. Besides, there are plenty of alternatives, many restaurants, cafes, and local brands. Supporting local businesses also helps boost your country's economy. So it's a win-win situation from all perspectives. This is just a reminder. Now, back to the story. The case began with the FBI, specifically at the Jacksonville office in Florida. This office specialized in investigating corporate fraud and corruption cases. In 2001, they received a call from an anonymous informant whose identity was never revealed. This informant told them that McDonald's Monopoly Game had been rigged. He provided the names of 3 people who had won the $1 million prize over the years and pointed out that these individuals were actually related. Their names were different, and even their last names were not the same, so they did not appear to be family members. However, upon investigation, it became clear that they were indeed related. All 3 had won the $1 million prize, which was highly suspicious. The anonymous informant also gave them the name of the mastermind behind the fraud. He told them his name was Uncle Jerry. The FBI investigators started looking into the matter. Was it possible that the McDonald's Monopoly Game had been compromised in some way? They had to find out. It was now 2001, and McDonald's had been running this game since 1987, 14 years. They needed to determine when the fraud had started. The first step was to verify all previous winners, especially those who had won the grand prize of $1 million. They obtained a list of winners from the past 14 years, and the shocking discovery was that many of them were somehow related. Even distant relatives were connected. For example, one winner would turn out to be the cousin of another winner's niece. These were distant connections, but still, they were family. The investigators were stunned by these connections. The chances of this happening naturally were almost impossible, like being struck by lightning 1,000,000 times. At this point, they knew for sure that there was fraud involved. Someone had found a way to manipulate the game and take control of the high-value prizes. The prize tickets varied in value. Most tickets were non-winning, and the lowest prizes were free meals. Then came small electronic devices, followed by larger electronics like refrigerators, ovens, and televisions. Higher up were vacation trips, cars, and boats. The best prizes were the cash rewards. Most were $1,000, but there were also prizes of $10,000, $25,000, and even $100,000. The highest and most advertised prize was the $1 million jackpot. As the FBI investigators examined the details of past winners, they found that there had been no legitimate winner of the $1 million prize from 1989 to 2001. This meant that the fraud had been running for 12 years. However, they still lacked enough information to dig deeper into the case. All they had was the name Uncle Jerry, given to them by the anonymous informant. The investigators were puzzled. They had many missing pieces. They needed to identify weak points that allowed the fraudsters to steal the winning tickets. They had to find out where these tickets were printed, how the game pieces were distributed, and how McDonald's ensured the process was truly random. The FBI was hesitant to involve McDonald's management in the investigation, fearing that someone within the company might be involved. However, they had no other choice. They had no leads or sources to get the missing information. So, they decided to contact McDonald's. They reached out to a senior security officer in the company, one of the top executives at McDonald's. However, they did not disclose all the details of the case. They simply told him that there was a serious matter that required discussion and asked him to come to their office with 2 or 3 colleagues without informing anyone else. 3 of McDonald's top executives flew to Jacksonville, where the FBI office was located. Upon arrival, an FBI investigator picked them up from the airport and took them straight to the office. During the meeting, the investigators explained to the executives that their game had been compromised and that all major prize winners over the years had won through fraud. Most of them were related, despite having different names. The executives were shocked. Their first instinct was to immediately shut down the game, especially since they were about to launch a new campaign. However, the investigators quickly told them, No. That's the worst thing you can do. The fraudsters will realize something is wrong and may escape. The FBI tried to convince the executives to go ahead with the new campaign so they could monitor the situation and find out how the fraud was happening. The executives were hesitant, and the meeting at the FBI office dragged on as they debated the decision. In the end, the 3 executives present said, "This is not just our decision. The entire board of directors needs to agree on this." Some FBI investigators traveled with these McDonald's executives to the company's headquarters. There, they held a meeting with the top board members. After the meeting, the board agreed to launch a new Monopoly game campaign so the FBI could monitor it. Another goal of the meeting was for the investigators to find out who was responsible for printing and distributing the game tickets. The executives revealed that this was handled by an external marketing company called Simon Marketing. McDonald's had a contract with Simon Marketing to manage all their marketing campaigns, including the Monopoly game. Simon Marketing was responsible for printing and distributing the game pieces and ensuring that everything remained random. At this point, the FBI realized that the flaw or loophole had to be within this marketing company. Simon Marketing was one of McDonald's most important partners. The marketing campaigns they managed were incredibly successful, and the most powerful among them was the Monopoly game. The campaign offered a variety of prizes totaling up to $50 million, with the $1 million prize being the highlight. Customers could get the Monopoly game tickets in 2 ways. One by purchasing meals, which came with game pieces attached to cups, boxes, and packaging. 2. By buying magazines that partnered with McDonald's, where some of these magazines contained Monopoly tickets. If a customer found a winning ticket, they would contact McDonald's, which had specific methods to verify that the ticket was authentic and not counterfeit, especially for the high-value prizes. This game was incredibly successful, and each time McDonald's launched a new campaign, their sales would increase by up to 40%. It was one of their most profitable marketing strategies, with most people chasing the $1 million prize, despite knowing their chances of winning were extremely low. Now, imagine if customers found out that their real chances of winning were actually 0, because someone had been stealing the winning tickets before they even made it into the game pieces. As planned, McDonald's, in collaboration with Simon Marketing, launched the new campaign. Not long after, a person called claiming that he had found a $1 million ticket. McDonald's took the ticket and confirmed that it was real. The company then publicly announced this person as the new $1 million winner. As soon as the FBI heard about this, they started investigating the man. His name was Michael Hoover, and he worked as a manager at a casino. The first thing the FBI did was wiretap his phone calls. The FBI has the ability to monitor phone conversations through telecommunications companies, but first, they must obtain approval from a federal judge. This requires strong suspicions or solid evidence against the person being investigated. They started listening to Michael Hoover's calls, but for the first few days, there was nothing unusual, just normal conversations. Then, one of the FBI investigators had an idea. He remembered that winners were required to sign legal agreements with McDonald's, allowing the company to use their names and photos for advertising purposes. This investigator suggested, "Why don't we set up a fake interview with this winner, Michael Hoover? We can contact McDonald's and have them arrange a marketing interview with him. We'll ask him about his experience winning the prize, how he found the ticket, and what he plans to do with the money. No one will suspect a thing." The FBI reached out to the head of marketing at McDonald's and received permission from the top management to involve her in the operation. She was shocked when she learned that the Monopoly game had been rigged for years and that all past winners had been frauds. Once she recovered from the shock, the investigators explained that they needed her help. They wanted her to contact Michael Hoover and convince him that the McDonald's marketing team wanted to conduct a promotional interview with him. The real goal was for the FBI to trick Hoover into revealing more information. So, the McDonald's marketing director called Michael Hoover and told him, "We would love to do an interview with you. If you're okay with it, we'll come over with a filming crew, ask you some lighthearted questions about how you feel about winning, and take some promotional photos with you." Michael Hoover agreed and set a date for the interview. On the agreed day, a filming crew arrived at Michael Hoover's house. However, the entire crew, except for the McDonald's marketing director, were actually FBI agents. Another FBI team was stationed outside, listening in on everything. When they arrived, they even brought a giant novelty check for $1 million to make it look more convincing. They planned to film him holding the check as part of the promotional campaign. These were real, recorded moments captured on camera. They sat down with Hoover and began asking him questions. He casually talked and answered them. The first thing they asked was, "Can you tell us the story of how you found the $1 million ticket?" Hoover started telling a completely made-up story. "I was sleeping on the beach, and when I woke up, I found myself covered in sand. So I got up, grabbed my belongings, and walked toward the water to wash off. But by accident, some of my stuff fell into the water. Among the things that fell was a magazine I had with me." He continued, "That magazine contained a Monopoly ticket, and it got washed away. So, after gathering the rest of my things, I stopped by a supermarket on my way home to buy some items. There, I saw the same magazine I had lost, so I decided to buy another copy. When I got home and opened it, I was shocked to find the $1 million ticket inside." This was the story Michael Hoover told the FBI, unaware that they were not really from McDonald's. To make the operation even more convincing, the FBI agents went along with it and took the setup a step further. First, they took pictures of Hoover holding the $1 million check in front of his house. Then, they asked him to take them to the beach where he supposedly lost the first magazine. There, they photographed him again with the check. Next, they went with him to the supermarket where he claimed to have bought the second magazine. Once again, they took more photos of him at the store, making it seem like a complete promotional campaign. At the end of the interview, they thanked him for his time and left. The investigators didn't get a direct confession from Michael Hoover, but they were hopeful that something would come from this operation. And they were right. Not even 30 minutes after the FBI left Hoover's house, their wiretap team picked up a new phone call. Michael Hoover immediately called someone and said, "Hey, AJ, they believed everything. I told them the story about going to the beach, losing the magazine, and then buying another one later. They didn't suspect anything at all. They just asked a few basic questions and left." The other person, AJ, replied, "Awesome. Great job, my friend. You totally nailed it." They laughed about how they had fooled the interviewers, completely unaware that the FBI was listening to their entire conversation and recording everything. This was the final confirmation that fraud was happening, and it gave the FBI new leads to follow. The first thing the investigators did was look into the second person on the phone call, the one named AJ. They found out that his full name was AJ Gump. They gathered all his information and learned that he had been a small-time drug dealer who had served 12 years in prison. So, he had a criminal record. They started wiretapping his calls, and that's when the doors truly opened for them. AJ Gump was clearly distributing winning game pieces to different people. It wasn't just the $1 million ticket. He was also handing out winning tickets worth $10,000, $25,000, $100,000, as well as tickets for cars and other big prizes. He was in contact with multiple individuals, acting like a coordinator or middleman, but it was clear that he was not the mastermind. AJ constantly mentioned a name during his phone calls, the same name the anonymous informant had given the FBI at the beginning, Uncle Jerry. AJ kept repeating this name in conversations. Uncle Jerry is bringing the ticket. I'm meeting Uncle Jerry on this day. Don't make Uncle Jerry angry. He kept mentioning Uncle Jerry over and over. At this point, the investigators needed to find out who Uncle Jerry was. Interestingly, AJ was not calling Uncle Jerry directly, or if he was, it was from a different number. It seemed like Uncle Jerry was more cautious about how he communicated. The FBI investigators then retrieved phone records from all previous major prize winners, especially those who had won $1 million. They started looking for a common number, one that all these winners had contacted before and after receiving their prize. Back then, there were no digital databases. Everything was printed on paper, which made the search much slower and harder. But after combing through the records, they noticed one number that appeared frequently among different winners. It was a number that many winners had called in the days leading up to receiving their prize and shortly after winning. Then, after that, all contact with this number would completely stop. To be precise, it wasn't just one number, but multiple numbers all registered under the same person. That person's official name was Jerome Jacobson, but he was better known as Jerry Jacobson, or as his associates called him, Uncle Jerry. The biggest shock for the FBI was discovering that this man was the director of security at Simon Marketing, the very company that McDonald's had contracted to run the Monopoly game. When the investigators identified this person, they immediately knew. We've caught the head of the snake. Right away, they began wiretapping all of his calls while also digging into his past. They found out that Jerry Jacobson had once been a police officer, but he had left the force due to health issues. His background as a former cop was actually what made him qualified to become the head of security at Simon Marketing. However, the FBI couldn't just storm into Simon Marketing and arrest him right away. They needed to gather solid evidence, uncover all the details of the fraud, and build a strong case against him. They needed to find out exactly how he was stealing the winning game pieces. To do this, they asked McDonald's for help in understanding the procedures Simon Marketing followed when managing the Monopoly game. They needed to know how the tickets were printed, distributed, and what security measures were in place. Surprisingly, McDonald's executives themselves didn't know these details. One of the McDonald's senior managers arranged a meeting with Simon Marketing to get all the information without raising suspicion. His plan was to collect all the details and hand them over to the FBI. It was almost laughable. McDonald's was spending hundreds of millions on this game, but they had outsourced it to a marketing company without even knowing exactly how it was managed. With the FBI's cooperation, one of McDonald's top executives visited Simon Marketing, sat down with their team, and gathered all the details about their procedures and security protocols. What they found was shocking. Simon Marketing had implemented excellent security measures to protect the game. Regarding printing, Simon Marketing had outsourced the job to an external printing company called Dittler Brothers Printing. This company had very high security measures in place. The printing facility was heavily guarded 24/7. Anyone entering the building had to go through security checkpoints, show an ID badge or entry permit, sign in, and write down their name, details, and time of entry. Even employees who worked there every day had to go through these procedures. To enter the actual printing area, workers had to pass another security gate, which required a separate security clearance. Beyond these security checkpoints, the facility was equipped with alarm systems and surveillance cameras covering every corner. These were the everyday security measures. However, when it came to printing the winning game pieces, the security was even tighter. On the printing day for the winning tickets, the process was heavily monitored. The secured printing area had 2 separate locks, requiring 2 different employees with unique access codes to open the doors leading to the high-value ticket printing zone. During the printing process, official representatives from Simon Marketing were required to be present and watch as the winning tickets were printed. Uncle Jerry was one of these observers since he was the director of security at Simon Marketing. Once the winning game pieces were printed, they were placed inside a briefcase. And who was responsible for handling this briefcase? Uncle Jerry. He literally handcuffed the briefcase to his wrist. The briefcase itself had a combination lock. Half of the code was held by Uncle Jerry, and the other half was held by an independent accountant from a separate auditing firm. This accountant was required to accompany Jerry at all times until he delivered the winning tickets. The game pieces were then transported by trucks that were sealed with special tamper-proof stickers. The auditors from Simon Marketing, Uncle Jerry, and the independent accountant would fly on a plane to the same destination as the trucks. These destinations were various cities across the U.S., where the game pieces would be attached to McDonald's packaging. At these facilities, representatives from Simon Marketing and auditors from Dittler Brothers Printing would supervise the process of attaching the winning tickets to the packaging. Uncle Jerry would arrive with the briefcase handcuffed to him. He would enter his half of the security code, and the accountant would enter the other half. They would open the briefcase in front of everyone. Inside the briefcase was a sealed envelope. This envelope was labeled with the exact number of winning tickets inside and had a security sticker seal. If anyone tampered with this seal, it would be immediately noticeable. Uncle Jerry himself would open the envelope, take out the winning tickets, while all eyes were on him, and then they would randomly attach the tickets to McDonald's packaging as they moved along the production line. In theory, no one was supposed to know where the winning tickets ended up. Customers would then buy meals and try their luck to see if they won. But how did McDonald's verify that a winning ticket was real? The high-value winning tickets had specific security features to prevent forgery. For example, a certain letter, like the letter K, would be slightly cut or marked in a way only McDonald's could identify. The most important security feature they implemented was writing a specific code in invisible ink on the winning ticket. This code could only be seen under ultraviolet (UV) light. This meant that it was impossible for anyone to counterfeit the tickets. As you can see, the process was extremely complex and had strong security measures. Even though Uncle Jerry was right in the middle of the process, the FBI investigators were still puzzled. They couldn't understand how he was able to steal the winning tickets, despite being surrounded by so many people watching the process. To uncover the truth, they needed to continue their investigations. They were already wiretapping Michael Hoover, the first so-called winner they had investigated; A.J. Gump, the middleman who was seemingly recruiting winners and distributing the tickets; Uncle Jerry, the mastermind behind the entire operation. On top of that, they were monitoring several other million-dollar winners from the past years. But despite all these wiretaps, they weren't getting any valuable information. At this point, the investigators realized they needed to try something new. They came up with a brilliant idea. They would lure the previous winners into a trap. Their plan was to contact the past winners through McDonald's and tell them that a special event was being organized to celebrate all the past million-dollar winners. The event location: Las Vegas, the city of entertainment and luxury. Of course, there was no real event. This was just a trick to lure the winners out. McDonald's marketing team contacted the winners, saying, "We are preparing a huge celebration for all the past winners of our Monopoly game. We're inviting you to Las Vegas, the city of fun and excitement. You'll fly first class, stay in luxury hotels, dine at the finest restaurants, and enjoy exclusive events, all paid for by McDonald's as part of our marketing campaign." Naturally, most winners agreed to attend. With that, the trap was set. After they agreed, McDonald's told them, "As part of the marketing campaign, we would love to film a short interview with you beforehand. We'll show these interviews at the event in Las Vegas. We just want to ask you about your experience, how you won, and what happened afterward." One of the people they interviewed was named Buddy Fisher. This man was extremely nervous during the interview. He stuttered, struggled to speak clearly, and was visibly sweating. His face was drenched as if he had just stepped out of a swimming pool. The reason? He was lying and trying to make up a story, just like Michael Hoover in the earlier interview. But unlike Hoover, who managed to deliver his fake story confidently, Buddy Fisher was a complete mess. He couldn't even put two words together properly. During the interview, he kept apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm just not used to being on camera." He wanted to pretend that he was nervous because of the interview, but in reality, he was nervous because he was lying. Even though Buddy Fisher didn't reveal any useful information to the FBI, he led them to a key figure in the operation. Buddy Fisher was the father-in-law of a woman named Robin Colombo. Robin Colombo was the wife of a man named Jerry Colombo. Yes, another Jerry, but not Uncle Jerry. This Jerry Colombo was actually one of the previous winners, not of the $1 million prize, but of a car prize. He had even appeared in a McDonald's commercial after winning. However, in reality, Jerry Colombo was a major player in the scam. He worked directly with Uncle Jerry. He was the first and most important middleman. He took the stolen winning tickets from Uncle Jerry and distributed them to different people. Uncle Jerry didn't have a large network of contacts. At first, he had given a few stolen tickets to people he knew, but eventually, he ran out of new people to give them to. He needed someone else to distribute the winning tickets. This is how Uncle Jerry and Jerry Colombo met, by pure chance at an airport. Jerry Colombo wasn't just anyone. His family, the Colombo family, was one of the most infamous Italian mafia families in America. If you research the biggest mafia families in the US, you'll find 5 main crime families. One of them is the Colombo family. The Colombo family was large and well-connected, and Jerry Colombo had a vast network of contacts, both inside and outside the mafia. This made him the perfect middleman to distribute the stolen game pieces. The deal between Uncle Jerry and Jerry Colombo was simple. Uncle Jerry would sell the $1 million tickets to Jerry Colombo for $50,000 each, and Colombo would handle the rest. You might be wondering, wait, Uncle Jerry only got $50,000 per $1 million ticket. That seems way too low. There were several reasons for this. One convenience, Uncle Jerry didn't have to waste time looking for people to sell the tickets to. He could immediately sell them to Jerry Colombo and be done with it. 2, McDonald's didn't pay out the $1 million all at once. The prize was spread out over 20 years. Each winner would receive $50,000 per year until they reached $1 million. 3. Taxes. The winners had to pay taxes on their prize. After taxes, a winner might only take home around $35,000 per year from their $50,000 annual payout. So, all these factors made Uncle Jerry accept $50,000 per stolen $1 million ticket. But remember, he wasn't just selling $1 million tickets. He was also selling other prize tickets, including $10,000 tickets, $25,000 tickets, $100,000 tickets, car and boat prize tickets. Uncle Jerry priced each ticket differently, depending on the value of the prize, how easy it was to claim. For example, a car prize could be collected immediately, whereas the $1 million prize was paid out over 20 years. Because of this, Uncle Jerry could charge a higher price for a car ticket than for a $1 million ticket. Meanwhile, Jerry Colombo was making his own deals. Whenever he picked someone from his network to receive a winning ticket, he took 50% of the prize for himself, but only for a limited time. For example, if he gave someone a $1 million ticket, he would collect half of their payouts for the first 5 years. Sometimes, this arrangement varied depending on how close he was to the person. He adjusted the terms as he saw fit. At first, Jerry Colombo distributed the stolen tickets to close contacts. Then, he expanded to include relatives of relatives, friends of friends, and eventually people further outside his circle. His main challenge was to avoid patterns. He needed to spread out the winners so no one would notice any connections between them. However, his wife, Robin Colombo, noticed something strange. She told him, "You always pick the same type of people, white men from the same area. Why don't you mix it up?" Jerry Colombo asked her. "Who do you have in mind?" She replied, "I have a friend named Gloria Brown." Gloria Brown was a black woman from Florida. Her profile was completely different from the other winners Jerry Colombo had chosen so far. Gloria Brown was a single mother with a young son, struggling financially. When her friend Robin Colombo introduced her to the scheme, she felt like this was her chance. A sum of money like this could completely change her life. After Robin made the introduction, she stepped out of the picture, and communication continued only between Gloria Brown and Jerry Colombo. From the beginning, Jerry Colombo laid out the conditions. He told her that he would take 50% of the prize money for 5 years. So when McDonald's paid her $50,000 each year, he would take $25,000 from her. Gloria agreed. Then Jerry Colombo added another condition. "Before I give you the winning ticket, you need to give me money up front," Gloria asked. "How much?" he told her. $50,000. This meant that Jerry Colombo wasn't even paying the $50,000 fee to Uncle Jerry from his own pocket. He was getting it from the people he gave the tickets to. Gloria was shocked she didn't have that kind of money. He told her, "Figure it out. If you don't bring me the money, you're not getting the ticket. Gloria was stuck. She had no idea what to do. Her only option was to take out a loan and mortgage her house. But now she had a new dilemma. Can I really give this much money to a man I barely know just based on his word? What if this whole thing is a scam? She knew his wife, but they weren't close. Gloria was deeply hesitant, but in the end, she convinced herself that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She took out the loan, mortgaged her house, and then met Jerry Colombo. She literally handed him $50,000 in cash, right there in the street, like it was an illegal deal. She later described this moment as terrifying. She had never held that much money in her life, and now she was just handing it over to a stranger. To make things even worse, Jerry Colombo didn't give her the ticket right away. He told her, "I'll take the money first, then I'll go and buy the ticket from Uncle Jerry." At this point, Gloria feared the worst. She thought, he's going to take my money and disappear. It was a reckless decision to give someone $50,000 up front without any proof. This shows how easily people can be scammed if the fraudster knows how to manipulate them. But luckily for Gloria, Jerry Colombo wasn't a scammer. It was in his best interest to return with the ticket, because if she claimed the prize, he would get his share. A few days later, he came back with the $1 million ticket. He took her to a McDonald's location, where she handed over the winning game piece and claimed her prize. Everything went perfectly. McDonald's verified the ticket and announced Gloria Brown as the newest $1 million winner. But as soon as she received her first $50,000 payment, Jerry Colombo showed up immediately and took his $25,000 cut. And don't forget, there were taxes on this money. From her $50,000, she had to pay around $15,000 in taxes. Then, she had to give Jerry Colombo $25,000. That meant she was left with only $10,000, and this would continue for 5 years. You might think, well, at least she's still making $10,000 a year, right? But here's the problem, she had taken a loan and had to repay it. That $10,000 barely covered her loan payments, and she even had to pay extra on top. In reality, Gloria wasn't making any money. She was actually losing money. She later said that she struggled just to survive during those years. Meanwhile, Jerry Colombo showed no sympathy. He constantly threatened her, warning her that if she didn't pay him his cut, something bad would happen to her. After all, he was a mafia man. And in the end, Gloria Brown didn't even get to complete the 5 years. Before she could receive all her payments, the FBI uncovered the scam, and she was prosecuted. She was forced to return the money to McDonald's, including the portion she had already given to Jerry Colombo. So in the end, Gloria didn't just lose, she ended up in debt. As for Jerry Colombo, he wasn't just making money from Gloria, he was taking his share from multiple winners. Very quickly, he accumulated huge amounts of cash, became rich, and started living lavishly. He showered his family with money and spent recklessly on himself. At the same time, he started indulging in his desires, living without restraint. One day, at an airport, he walked up to a ticket agent named Lee Cassano. She was also of Italian descent, and he flirted with her until they exchanged contacts. They began talking regularly, and soon they were having an affair. Jerry Colombo started cheating on his wife with Lee Cassano, taking her on trips, spending money on her, and buying her expensive gifts. Their relationship lasted for months. One day, he even gave her a winning McDonald's game piece, a $100,000 prize ticket. Unlike the $1 million prize, which was paid out over 20 years, this $100,000 was paid in full immediately. When Lee redeemed the ticket, McDonald's sent her a check for $100,000. She went to cash the check at the bank, and Jerry Colombo was standing right next to her. The moment she withdrew the money, he took all of it. He told her, "I need to pay some people their shares, but I'll give you your portion later." At that moment, Lee became scared. She realized something important. She was the one who had legally claimed the prize. This meant that the IRS would come after her for the taxes. She would be personally responsible for paying around $30,000 in taxes. But now, Jerry had taken all of the money. Her initial worries turned into full-blown panic when Jerry started ignoring her. Whenever she called him about the money, he would say, later, don't worry, I'll give it to you." But his tone started changing. Eventually, he began getting angry whenever she brought up the topic. From this point on, Jerry Colombo's life started to spiral downward. One day, while he was talking to Lee Cassano on the phone, his wife, Robin Colombo, overheard the conversation. She stormed into the room, snatched his phone, and started yelling at Lee. She also screamed at Jerry, creating a massive scene. She even threatened to call the FBI and expose him. From that moment on, their marriage began collapsing. Even though they had a child together, their relationship kept getting worse and worse. Maybe the only reason Robin didn't immediately expose him was because of their son. But things only got worse. Jerry Colombo tried to open a nightclub, essentially a strip club. He brought in dancers, hired women, and got into conflicts with local authorities. The government tried to shut down his nightclub multiple times. Each time, he would reopen it under a different name. Eventually, he even registered the nightclub as a church, trying to exploit legal loopholes to keep it running. He even appeared on television multiple times, talking about his club. People would call in during live broadcasts, some of them mocking him, others angrily confronting him. Since Jerry Colombo had turned his nightclub into a supposed church and was involved in various shady activities, Uncle Jerry was unhappy with his public appearances. Even though the nightclub was a separate business, Uncle Jerry knew that any attention on Jerry Colombo could put the entire monopoly scam at risk. The nightclub issue further escalated the problems between Jerry Colombo and his wife, Robin Colombo. She started accusing him. "You're just a pimp, hiring dancers and prostitutes. I know exactly what you're doing behind my back." One day, they were driving together in the car with their young son, who was asleep in the back seat. As they were arguing, their son suddenly woke up crying, adding to the chaos. During the commotion, Robin lost control of the car and crashed into a truck. Paramedics and police arrived at the scene. Robin and her son only suffered minor injuries, but because of Jerry Colombo's large size, he suffered serious internal injuries and was rushed to intensive care. A few days later, he died. His death occurred in 1998, 3 years before the FBI even started investigating the case in 2001. For some of the fake winners, such as Gloria Brown, his death was a relief. She no longer had to give him 50% of her prize every year. But one of the biggest losers was his mistress, Lee Cassano, who never got back the $100,000 he had taken from her. Now she was deeply in debt, owing $30,000 in taxes with no money to pay it. Meanwhile, Jerry Colombo's family, especially his brother, Frank Colombo, and his mother, Ma Colombo, were furious at Robin. Some of them even accused her of causing the crash on purpose because of their ongoing marital problems. Robin denied this completely, cut ties with the Colombo family, and took her son with her. However, Ma Colombo, Jerry's mother, wanted custody of her grandson. Robin's downfall came shortly after. She got involved in other crimes, including drug offenses and check fraud. Eventually, she was arrested and sent to prison. After her conviction, Jerry Colombo's mother was granted custody of the child, just as she had wanted. As for Jerry Colombo's house, after his death, it was looted. Furniture, jewelry, and valuables were all stolen. To this day, it's unknown who took everything, but given that Jerry Colombo was a mafia man, it's likely that many people were waiting for an opportunity to take what they could. Robin refused to live a lower lifestyle than what she had been used to with Jerry, so she turned to fraud, writing bad checks, and getting involved in drugs. Eventually, she was caught and imprisoned. Now, let's go back to Uncle Jerry. With Jerry Colombo dead, Uncle Jerry lost his most important middleman. They had worked together for over 8 years, and now he had to find new people to help distribute the stolen tickets. One of the new middlemen he recruited was A.J. Gump, the same man who had given the $1 million ticket to Michael Hoover, the first fake winner the FBI investigated. A.J. Gump had a criminal record. He was a former drug dealer who had served 12 years in prison for his crimes. When he got out, one of his friends who knew Uncle Jerry introduced him to the scheme. He immediately agreed to join, even though he had just gotten out of prison. Very quickly, A.J. Gump became one of Uncle Jerry's top distributors, but he wasn't the only one. Through wiretaps, the FBI discovered another middleman, a man named Dwight Baker. Dwight Baker's story was unique. He met Uncle Jerry through his construction business. He was a contractor, and at some point, he built a house or farm for Uncle Jerry. For time, they became friends, and eventually Uncle Jerry offered him a $1 million ticket. But there was a catch: he had to pay $100,000 up front. Dwight Baker wanted the ticket, but he didn't have $100,000. So he told Uncle Jerry, "I don't have that much money, but I think I know someone who does." Uncle Jerry replied, "That's fine, but make sure it's someone trustworthy," Dwight Baker told him. "Don't worry, this is someone very close to me." The person he had in mind was his adopted son, George Chandler. George Chandler was not his biological son, but he had raised him since he was a child. George was a successful businessman and investor with plenty of money. Dwight Baker approached him and said, "Son, I have a great opportunity for you." George asked, "What is it?" Dwight explained, "I have a friend who is going through a divorce. He won $1 million McDonald's prize, but he doesn't want to claim it himself because his ex-wife would take half of it. So, he's willing to sell the ticket for $100,000. In the US, during a divorce, the law splits assets 50-50. Even if one spouse earned all the money, the other still gets half. So, Dwight Baker's story seemed believable. It sounded like a divorcing man trying to avoid losing money to his ex-wife. George Chandler saw it as a good deal. Yes, he would have to wait 20 years to receive the full $1 million, and he would have to pay heavy taxes on it. But within 3 to 4 years, he would make back his $100,000 investment and start profiting. So, he agreed. The deal was made, and George Chandler became the next $1 million winner. McDonald's even threw a celebration event for him at one of their restaurants. Meanwhile, Dwight Baker didn't get anything from this ticket deal, since he didn't take a cut from his adopted son. However, after seeing how much money was involved, he became tempted and started working as a middleman for Uncle Jerry. Since he was a contractor, he had a network of wealthy contacts who could afford to buy winning tickets. The FBI quickly found out about Dwight Baker through their wiretaps. After that, they started listening to his calls as well. Through these recordings, the FBI learned that a meeting was about to happen, a money for ticket exchange between Dwight Baker and another person. So the FBI set up a sting operation. They secretly filmed the transaction as evidence. These are real clips from that FBI sting operation. The sting was not meant for arrests. It was just to gather more proof for the case. By this point, the FBI felt that they had enough evidence to build a strong case against Uncle Jerry and his network. They had identified all the major players involved in the fraudulent operation. The only thing they still didn't know was exactly how Uncle Jerry had stolen the winning tickets despite the tight security measures. However, this detail wasn't essential to convict him. The evidence they had was already enough to prosecute him, and soon, they would finally uncover Uncle Jerry's secret method. On August 21, 2001, the arrests began. The FBI first arrested around 8 people, including Uncle Jerry, the middlemen A.J. Gump and Dwight Baker, among others. The winners were not arrested, but FBI agents were sent to their homes to question them. All of this happened simultaneously, with FBI offices across different states coordinating their efforts. For the winners who were visited by investigators, those who refused to cooperate could have faced arrest. But not a single one refused. They all agreed to cooperate. Once the arrests were made, the case exploded in the media, causing huge public outrage. The names and photos of the people involved were revealed, with Uncle Jerry at the center of the scandal. He quickly hired a powerful lawyer to defend him. Following the massive scandal, McDonald's issued an official apology to their customers. They promised to take responsibility and fix the situation. They immediately ended their contract with Simon Marketing, which had been responsible for running the Monopoly game. After the scandal, all other companies that had contracts with Simon Marketing also canceled them. Overnight, Simon Marketing completely collapsed. Their stock price plummeted from $100 to just 50 cents, $50 cents. At the time, this was the largest single-day stock collapse in company history. As for Dittler Brothers Printing, the printing company handling the game pieces, the FBI raided their facility, seizing all possible evidence. Eventually, Dittler Brothers Printing also went out of business following the scandal. Uncle Jerry's actions had literally ruined the livelihoods of hundreds of people. Uncle Jerry's lawyer advised him not to confess or cooperate unless they could negotiate a reduced sentence in exchange for his full cooperation. A case like this could easily result in a 20-year prison sentence. After negotiations, the prosecution agreed to request a lighter sentence from the judge if Uncle Jerry pleaded guilty and provided full cooperation, including revealing all details and all individuals involved. Uncle Jerry agreed and confessed everything. He revealed exactly how he had stolen the winning tickets. If you remember, we talked about how the winning game pieces were transported from the printing facility. Uncle Jerry was responsible for carrying the bag of winning tickets, which was handcuffed to his wrist. He was always accompanied by an independent accountant. Half of the briefcase's combination code was with Uncle Jerry, and the other half was with the accountant. By the way, the FBI also interrogated the accountant, and they confirmed that she had no involvement in the fraud. After receiving the winning tickets from the printing facility, Uncle Jerry and the accountant would fly to various cities where the game pieces were to be attached to McDonald's packaging. During these flights, they would go through airports together, but the only time Uncle Jerry was alone was when he went to the bathroom. At some point, Uncle Jerry figured out the other half of the security code. Most likely, he saw the accountant enter the code by accident, perhaps by glancing out of the corner of his eye while she was unlocking it. Now, he had the full combination to open the briefcase. But even after opening the briefcase, there was one problem. The winning tickets were sealed inside an envelope with a security sticker. If anyone removed the sticker, it would be immediately obvious that the envelope had been opened. So, what did Uncle Jerry do? He simply used a knife to carefully cut open the sticker, removed the winning tickets, including the $1 million ticket and other high-value prizes like $100,000 cash and car prizes. Then, he replaced them with non-winning tickets or low-value prizes like free meal coupons. He always knew exactly how many tickets were supposed to be inside, because the exact number was printed on the envelope. At this point, there was only one issue left: the tampered sticker. How did he fix this problem? Uncle Jerry somehow had identical security stickers, the same ones Simon Marketing used. So, he simply replaced the old sticker with a new one, aligning it perfectly so that no one noticed. And for 12 years, no one did. Now, how did Uncle Jerry get his hands on the security stickers? According to his own explanation, one day he accidentally received a package from Simon Marketing that contained a batch of the security stickers. However, many people doubted his story. They suspected that he got the stickers from someone inside Simon Marketing, but since no one could prove it, his version of the story remained official. After switching the tickets in the airport bathroom, Uncle Jerry would lock the briefcase again and continue his journey with the accountant. When they arrived at the packaging factories, he would open the sealed envelope in front of witnesses from Simon Marketing and Dittler Brothers Printing. Since the security sticker appeared untouched, everyone assumed the winning tickets were inside as expected. With Uncle Jerry's confession, the entire scam was finally exposed. The FBI then confirmed the names of the fraudulent winners, who they had already identified through their investigation. In total, 53 people were charged for claiming fraudulent McDonald's prizes over the years. All 53 defendants pleaded guilty, except for 7 individuals who claimed they had no idea the tickets were stolen. One of these 7 was George Chandler, the man whose adoptive father, Dwight Baker, had offered him the $1 million ticket, telling him that the original owner wanted to sell it because of a divorce. George Chandler was initially found guilty, but he continued to appeal his case. His legal battle lasted until 2004, when he was finally acquitted. However, during those years, his business suffered massive damage, his reputation was destroyed, and his life was negatively impacted forever. The main cause of his suffering was his adoptive father, Dwight Baker. Understandably, he was furious with him for a long time, but eventually they reconciled. Most of the other fraudulent winners were not sentenced to prison. Instead, they were placed under house arrest for 1 to 2 years. In addition, the court ordered them to return all the money they had received. For those who couldn't pay the full amount, they were required to make monthly repayments. The middlemen were also not sent to prison. They were placed under house arrest and ordered to pay large fines in monthly installments. What helped reduce their sentences was the fact that none of them knew how Uncle Jerry was stealing the tickets. No one had ever questioned where the tickets came from, and Uncle Jerry never told anyone. So, legally, they couldn't be treated as direct accomplices in the theft. However, Uncle Jerry was the only one who actually went to prison. Because he cooperated with prosecutors, he received a light sentence, just 3 years in prison. He was also ordered to pay $12 million in restitution. But here's the catch. His monthly repayment plan was only $370 per month. At that rate, he would die before even repaying $100,000. and honestly, he probably had millions hidden somewhere. To this day, he still owns a nice house, multiple cars, and lives comfortably. Currently, Uncle Jerry is living with his 7th wife. Oh, and one last detail. Uncle Jerry was married 7 times. Many people believe that he never truly faced justice, especially considering the lives he ruined. His scam didn't just affect McDonald's. It destroyed the careers of employees at Simon Marketing and Dittler Brothers Printing. It also ruined the lives of the fraudulent winners, who now had to pay back their winnings and deal with tax debts. Take Gloria Brown, for example. She wasn't even done paying off her mortgage from the loan she took, and now she had to pay an additional monthly installment to return the prize money. So Uncle Jerry's crime had real victims. To repair its damaged reputation, McDonald's announced that it would give away $25 million to random customers, essentially returning the stolen prize money to the public. And with that, the case was officially closed. But there was one last mystery. Who was the informant who called the FBI and started this entire investigation? Without this person, the scam might never have been exposed. Do you remember Lee Cassano, the airline employee who had an affair with Jerry Colombo? Do you remember how he gave her a $100,000 winning ticket, then took all the money, leaving her in debt with unpaid taxes? After Jerry Colombo died in the car accident, Lee panicked. She had no idea how she would pay her tax debt. So she went to the IRS, the U.S. tax authority, and told them everything she knew, hoping they would help her. Of course, she didn't know all the details, but she gave them what little information she had. After that, she never heard from them again. No one contacted her, no one demanded her tax payments, and no one told her anything about what was happening. For years, Lee Cassano believed she was the one who tipped off the FBI. However, what most people don't know is that the IRS is a federal agency itself. They have their own investigators and huge budgets to handle major financial crimes. They wouldn't simply hand over a case to the FBI without taking credit for it. And remember, at the beginning of this story, I told you that the informant personally called the FBI, gave them Uncle Jerry's name, and provided specific details about the winners. Lee Cassano never even knew who Uncle Jerry was. She only reported Jerry Colombo and only spoke to the IRS, not the FBI. So she wasn't the real informant, but she thought she was. And the FBI? They never revealed the true informant's identity. But surprisingly, his identity was later exposed by his own family. Since the case was so old, no one really cared anymore. The real informant was a member of the Colombo Mafia family. His name was Frank Colombo. Frank Colombo was the brother of Jerry Colombo. In an interview, he revealed that the real informant was actually his mother, Ma Colombo, Jerry Colombo's own mother. Yes, Jerry Colombo's mother was the one who reported the scam to the FBI. Why did she do it? If you remember, Jerry Colombo and his wife, Robin, had a son. After Jerry died, his mother, Ma Colombo, wanted custody of the child. But custody was automatically granted to Robin, the boy's mother. After Jerry's death, Robin's life fell apart. Their house was robbed, she refused to lower her lifestyle, and she got involved in check fraud and drugs. Eventually, she was arrested and imprisoned. Because of this, custody of the child was transferred to Ma Colombo, just as she had wanted. But years later, Robin was about to be released from prison, which meant she could potentially regain custody of her son. To prevent this, Ma Colombo contacted the FBI and told them everything. By doing so, she ensured that Robin would receive a longer prison sentence. And indeed, during the FBI investigation, Robin was considered a suspect because she had helped Jerry Colombo choose the fake winners. Since she was a direct accomplice, her prison sentence was extended. So in the end, Uncle Jerry wasn't the only one who went to prison. Robin Colombo also had her sentence extended due to her involvement in the scam. And Ma Colombo got what she wanted. She kept custody of her grandson. Ironically, today, the entire family has reconciled. Ma Colombo, Robin, and the now adult son all live in peace. It seems that time has healed their grudges. The son, who is now grown with a family of his own, helped reunite them. After all, years can erase hatred, especially when family ties are involved. And that brings us to the end of the story. Honestly, this felt like multiple stories within a story. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the story, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Here are some previous videos you might enjoy. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Goodbye.